Now, and that's one of the major systems that were used to cast their ballots last week. The company is called Dominion Voting. It's used in 28 states, as reported by JustTheNews.com and John Solomon. Several days ago, Dominion came under heavy fire after allegations that their machines caused thousands of votes in one Michigan county to be switched from Donald Trump to Joe Biden. Take a look.
In Antrim County, ballots were counted for Democrats that were meant for Republicans, causing a 6,000 vote swing against our candidates. The county clerk came forward and said tabulating software glitched and caused a miscalculation of the votes. Since then, we have now discovered that 47 counties use this same software in the same capacity. Antrim County had to hand count all of the ballots, and these counties that use this software need to closely examine their results for similar discrepancies.
Now, tonight we did reach out to Dominion, and they are claiming that this was caused by a human error, had nothing to do with their operating system. But according to several reports, there may be a lot more to the story. For example, back in June, during Georgia's primary, there were a lot of serious issues surrounding the state's Dominion voting machines. According to the New York Times, quote, in some cases, the new machines required too much extra power for aging polling locations, blowing fuses and never powering on. In others, workers who were still being trained just days before the election, they struggled with the setup. Then the Times goes on to write, quote, the electronic poll books also were plagued by freezing software and user error. Now, keep in mind, during the presidential election, Dominion voting machines, they were used in all of Georgia's 159 counties. And as we all know, that is a state with a razor-thin margin. So the question must be asked, by the way, don't expect the media mob to ever ask it, are Dominion systems prone to human error? 72 million Americans voted for Donald Trump. All of them, all of us, deserve an answer. And that's not the only concern being raised. In 2018, let's go to the liberal AP, reporting that Dominion, quote, long skimped on security in favor of convenience, making it more difficult to detect intrusions. In fact, Dominion voting systems were rejected 3 times by data communications experts from the Texas Secretary of State and Attorney General's office for failing to meet basic, simple security standards. Once rejected in 2013, twice rejected in 2019. That would be last year. In 2018, a prominent tenured Princeton professor who specializes in election machinery, policy, security, his name is Andrew Appel, he issued an op-ed blasting Dominion over security concerns. And according to the professor, quote, the Dominion ImageCast evolution looks like a pretty good voting machine, but it has a serious design flaw. After you mark your ballot and after you review your ballot, the voting machine can print more votes on it. Yeah, it's a big problem. He then goes on, quote, of course, the legitimate software installed by Dominion won't do that, but the machine is physically capable of it, and fraudulent software can exploit that ability. And during a hearing on Capitol Hill 2017, Dr. Appel, remember, tenured professor, Princeton, I would assume a pretty smart guy, explained how fraudulent software could be used to seriously alter elections. Wow, just 2 short years ago. Take a look.
Each voting machine is a computer running a computer program. Whether that computer counts the votes accurately or makes mistakes or cheats by shifting votes from one candidate to another depends on what software is installed in the computer. Installing new software is how you hack a voting machine to cheat. I wrote a vote-stealing computer program that shifts votes from one candidate to another. Installing that vote-stealing program in a voting machine takes 7 minutes per machine with a screwdriver. But really, the software I built was not rocket science. Any computer programmer could write the same code. Once it's installed, it could steal elections without detection for years to come.
Now, am I saying tonight this happened with Dominion in this cycle? No. How would I possibly know? Now, we do know that there have been so many warnings. The New York Times, the Associated Press, there's been congressional hearings. You have the Attorney General and Secretary of State of Texas twice last year rejecting the system. A Princeton tenured professor all trying to warn us about this system. 28 states used it this election. And I'll add, if we want to have as a country election results with integrity that the people of this country will have confidence in, we can easily and absolutely have a system forensically checked. And by the way, I'll even argue allowing both Republican and Democratic engineers to do the forensic check together. And for example, if Texas rejected the system, well, 3 separate times, don't we owe it to every American to know which is the best, the most reliable and accurate system so we can have confidence in the voting in this country? We're a powerful country. We're an advanced country. Guess what? We can and must eliminate any chance of fraud or abuse or corruption or questioning of integrity and competence. There's good reason here not to have confidence or not to believe this is fair. And in states with razor-thin margins like Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, we owe it to the American people to do all due diligence and make sure that every legal vote is counted. Now, sadly, that's especially hard to do in states with widespread mail-in voting. Now, the New York Times may have actually forgotten their own reporting, kind of like Joe Biden on this very subject. In 2012, they warned about the increased risk of fraud and abuse incurred with mail-in voting. In fact, they actually ran a front-page story, not saying Hannity's awful or evil, and they cast grave doubt on the reliability of widespread mail-in voting and indicated it was, quote, more vulnerable to fraud than conventional voting. New York Times said that. New York Times, well, for once, they actually got something right.